It is February 8th, 2022, our first committee meeting of the Public Works. And I am Patrick McCoy, joined by Bernie Flynn and Sheila Vaccaro. This meeting called to order at 6 p.m. Second item, any comments, suggestions, petitions by residents in attendance regarding items not on the agenda? Okay, having none, and if I can get the consent from Mr. Flynn and Mrs. Vaccaro, if we can move item 9 to item number 3 on the agenda.
Consent.
Thank you. This is to approve the contract with Hoff Associates for Act 101 Annual Report and PADEP 904 Recycling Performance Grant.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for accommodating me. I have another public meeting at 6:30. So every year, the borough applies for and receives a grant called the 904 Recycling Performance Grant. It's from DEP. It's a flat dollars per ton based on all the tonnage recycled in Westchester, regardless of whether or not it's picked up by us and our borough program for residents or private haulers that service businesses and rentals. It is straight cash money, no strings attached for public works. I think the genesis of it was when they mandated that municipalities over a certain size have a recycling program. This is to help with the cost of having that program. But it's good money, and it's a really important part of the public works budget. So historically, we submitted this, and we always got around $34,000 per year. 2019, we were approached by Hoff Associates about essentially outsourcing the grant application, but it's not simply about the application process. For whatever reason, according to the bizarro math that DEP uses, if you file joint applications with other municipalities, everyone involved gets a much higher grant award. There's probably a little bit more to it, but if I knew, then not have to pay Hoff Associates to do this. But so again, when we were doing it, we were always $33,000, $34,000. Hoff has done it for 2020 and 2021, and they have increased our grant award by $19,000. So last year we got about $53,000 instead of $34,000. So this is a contract renewal to continue working with them. And under the model, what we've done is we've benchmarked our grant award. They get 35% of the additional funding that they're able to secure on our behalf. So that works out to basically we work with them. We don't have to do it. We get $12,000 more, and they get about $7,000 for their work. They're the only company that we're aware of that does this work. They're certainly the only one that's approached us about it. And if we don't work with them, then basically $12,000 back to DEP. So we're just asking this committee to recommend renewing this contract with Hoff for the 2021 submission, which is submitted September 2022.
Thank you. We can for approval to send this to council. Thank you. That we'll move to original item 3, approve a 1-year extension of the existing custodial contract of $53,604 with a 3% increase, totaling $55,212.12. Service Masters Services.
Yes, this is a contract that we put out last year. 2021 was the first year of the contract. We have an option to extend the contract up to 2 years. So we've decided to extend it 1 year with an increase of 3% to Service Master, and then go out for bid again at the end of 2022.
Questions?
No questions.
Consent? Thank you. So item 4, consider awarding the Marshall Drive Stream Bank Restoration Project to Stonewood Landshaping, Inc. in the amount of $106,950.
Yes, this is a project up on Marshall Drive, south of Goshen Road. It's a two-part project. We're doing a stream bank restoration a bit further upstream near the outlet, the upstream end of the first block. Then we're doing also some stream bank reinforcement at 745 at the corner of Goshen Road and Marshall Drive. The bids came in, their budget at $106,950. So, and that includes the alternates of the area at 745 Marshall Drive, and also the alternate of doing riprap instead of gabion baskets. And that's what we're recommending.
Thank you. Any questions?
No questions.
You said that was below budget?
Yes.
How much?
Our original budget, including engineering, was 220,000. There have been, obviously engineering, still have inspection to do on the project. And there's also room for if there's any extra work to be done. Right now, I think we're probably, including if the project stays in budget, the construction, we will be about $100,000 or between 80 and $100,000 to spend on inspection, which I don't.
Do you expect this to stay within budget?
Oh, yes, yes. I've got my estimate. Our engineer is preparing their estimate on the inspection, so I don't want to give a number right now. We're anticipated to stay well under budget, yes. So.
Further questions?
No, consent.
If I may, I would just like to make a comment on this line item. This original project was allocated in the 2021 budget. However, we are do zero-based budgeting where we have to make sure that we include all of our projects with 22 budget. And we have not included this, although it was approved in the 2021 budget. We do have the cash that we ended the year with to for this project to move forward, but I thought that it was best to bring that to your attention, that this actually, you will not find this in the 2022 budget. But there is money left over for this money to continue this year.
Thank you. Appreciate that clarification.
Mr. McCoy, now I have a question. Barb, please stay. You know, when we first looked at it in 2021, we had the allocations there, you know, for the zero budgeting. Ms. McCarroll asked the question that did we have enough money to carry over to finish this project? And except for inspections, which is $90,000 to $100,000, how do we stand with that? Or are we going to have to do a budget modification?
So back in the 2021 budget, we had originally allocated $220,000 for this project. It's coming in at about $106,000. We did end the year in stream protection with about $550,000. So we clearly have the cash in our account to pay for this project. At our March meeting, we will further clarification on all capital projects, just showing what's in the budget, what has been allocated, what may or may not have been properly allocated in the 22 budget, but I just wanted to let you know.
But are we going to do a modification?
We'll be doing a reconciliation at the March
okay.
finance meeting for this.
Okay, all right, very good.
So just one more question. So are the engineering fees for design and for construction observation, all built into that 221,000 that was budgeted?
Yes.
Great, thank you.
Very good.
Consent? Thank you.
Mr. McCoy, and that's based on, at this particular time, we should probably put a caveat in there. That's based on the reconciliation in March. Even though we have $550,000 in the fund, the street protection fund, it's going to be siphoned out or straightened out a little bit better for an explanation in March. Okay?
Item number 5, approve the easement agreements for the Marshall Drive Stream Bank Restoration Project, Borough of Westchester, and property owners relative to the following parcels.
This is just an extension of our previous item. We need several easements in order to do the work, and all of these except 2 easements are signed to date. There is one, the Meredith property, that is actually transferring ownership next Friday. I've had conversations with the title company, the realtor, and the buyer, and the buyer has agreed to sign the easement. He's going to do so at the closing next Friday. One other easement, we don't, there's just a very small area that touches this person's property, and we have not been able to reach the person, the property owner. So we're just going to tighten up our limited disturbance and not access his property. Actually need that easement.
Thank you. Consent? Item number 6, adopt a resolution for PennDOT to abandon West Gay Street from North Matlack Street, North New Street, so it becomes a borough roadway.
Yes, there's a process that we have to go, the borough has to go through Pennsylvania DOT to transfer ownership of a state road to a local municipality. There's 3 ways to do it. You can swap the road, which is, I'll give you this one if you give me that one. PennDOT, although that made the most sense in this case, logistically, PennDOT didn't want to do that because they'd only done that transaction once before in the Commonwealth, so they didn't want to try again. So the other 2 options are to go through a turnback, which would have required PennDOT to make certain improvements to Gay Street prior to turning it back to the municipality. So we defaulted to abandonment process you see before you, which is basically PennDOT walks away from the road, gives it to us in an as-is condition, which is acceptable to us at this point. We've looked at it, and aside from the obvious things that need to be repaired as a result of the PICO project, it's otherwise in good condition. There are 4 conditions attached to this resolution. The three of them are basically about securing the district is securing its right to intervene should we do anything design-wise affecting the traffic flow on Chestnut Street. One of the concepts with state roadway systems in general is that they are continuous. So the concept is traffic entering along Gay Street that turns north on Matlack will then continue on Chestnut Street through the borough, and that would be the state designated route. So we can't do anything with that road, although we own it. Can't do anything with that road traffic or circulation wise without the approval of the district office, and probably as well central office for PennDOT. The other condition is that we not permanently close Gay Street without consent of the department. It does allow us to temporarily close Gay Street without getting the consent, but to permanently close Gay Street, we would need to get consent from the DOT to do that. So that's just a summary of the conditions in the resolution that they are agreeing to through this abandonment process. Should council approve this and we get it signed next week, it goes to Harrisburg, and we should get this process wrapped up in the next couple months so that the borough then would become the owner of Gay Street and have to there'd be some other adjustments. We get, for instance, our liquid fuels revenue that the borough gets on a annual basis would change because now we have more local roads in that algorithm for that grant. But that's it in a nutshell.
Thank you. Questions?
Mr. McCoy, I remember I told you earlier that I did have a concern. And the concern is the wording of the resolution, which I want to ensure that they're going to change Chestnut Street into State Road Route 3. Because as we read through the resolution, whereas PennDOT owns the certain public road, Gay Street, which is State Road 3, located in the borough of Westchester. Right, that's the very top of the resolution. And as we drop down, where they say under certain conditions, whereas under certain conditions. And here's where I got a little fuzzy, and I said to Mr. McCoy, the borough acknowledges that PennDOT reserves the right to designate the use of Route 3. Now, Route 3 is Gay Street. All right? But then there's in parentheses Matlack and Chestnut. So that's what threw me off. So they're either going to have to change PA Route 3, because what they're saying here is Route 3 still falls under their requirement. Then you go to number 2, review and approve required prior to borough modifying the traffic lanes, again, along PA Route 3, which is Gay Street, which you said we can't change anything on Gay Street. Number 3, it says, and the engineering study, again, on Route 3. So unless they're changing the street, it basically says we can't close the street down for any of our reasons because it's State Road 3. So that's, something just doesn't sit right with me as far as that's concerned, unless they're going to change Chestnut Street into Route 3.
I can get clarification in time for next week's work session on your question, but it's my understanding that the designation of PA Route 3 will change to Matlack and Chestnut Streets as a result of this action, even though we own Matlack and Chestnut Streets, and now we'll own Gay Street as well.
If it's not in writing, it never happened. So, and I'm not saying that PennDOT is trying to pull a fast one, but, as I read through, I think this is our resolution and following their situation. But even temporarily shutting down Gay Street, which is Route 3, and will always be Route 3 unless PennDOT changes it, we should change the resolution somehow to read that way. Mr. McCoy, I remember now why I thought about that reason.
I guess I always thought that Chestnut was Route 3.
No,
And not
Gay
Gay
Street, Route 3 starts, I think, at Bradford Avenue and goes straight all the way into Philadelphia. But it doesn't bend around Chestnut Street. So that's where the parentheses threw me when I was talking to you about it, because Route 3, they're using Route 3, which is Gay Street, which says above State Route 3. And then down below, they got Matlack to Chestnut. I think there's a confusion. And I don't want them to have the ability to tell us we can't do anything on our street other than permanently close it if we ask permission to do that. Because the open air market's very important for us to have. And previous to this resolution, the open air market worked very well, but it looked like a construction site. It's not very appealing to the residents and people coming into town. And if we have total control of Route 3, we can designate certain barriers and protection sites, per the police department, make it a lot more appealing and festive. That's the clarification. I think is just a little off.
There is signage there designating it as PA3 all through Matlack to Chestnut and all the way across Chestnut. There is PennDOT signs there. It's actually an alternate to the State Route 3. State Route 3 is Gay Street. So, but PA 3 is also, it's not a state road, but it's PA 3, Matlack and around to Chestnut, and there's signage there right now.
Yeah, but the resolution calls it a state road. Very top. Right, first paragraph, right under all that hold, all the way, up, whereas Pennsylvania Department of Transportation, PennDOT, owns certain public roads known as Gay Street, State Road 3, located in the borough of Westchester. Then down below, they keep getting confused between Matlack and Chestnut. And then they throw in State Road 3. So,
Well, it is PA Route 3. That's not designated as a state route. Difference between the SR 003, the PA 3.
I think we need, before we agree to something, I think we need really good clarification because I don't want to agree to something like that. Thank you, Mr. McCoy.
Thank you,
That
Mr.
was
Flynn.
I
Appreciate it.
couldn't explain to you what I was thinking until I read it again.
Thank you.
So in a case like this, the recommendation from the committee would be for the item to be discussed at the work session.
Consent to have this discussed at the work session.
John O'Brien, Executive Director, Westchester Business Improvement District. I do have concerns with this resolution in terms of especially number 2 and 3 on their conditionals. The whole purpose that we kind of kicked the ball rolling and council had made the initiative to get control of the road back was so that you had the power to quickly act in terms of deciding what, the open air market is one of the driving forces for this. But if there's other community events that council could simply, pass by, voice vote or resolution to say, on this day or from these days, we want to close the road. If we have to go through a PennDOT review and approval process for any of this, it kind of somewhat defeats the whole purpose of us engaging in getting local control back. And I don't know, for the borough manager, have PennDOT indicated what approval process has looked like? Because the past 2 years, it's been an absolute nightmare getting answers and approvals for them on applications that we have submitted.
What's your question?
For the approval process that they're asking for, have they indicated what that entails? For instance, like right now, we've had to not only get PennDOT approval, but the U.S. Department of Transportation approvals as well. Is that still going to exist that we'll have to get U.S. DOT approval as well, or is it just PennDOT approval
Or what?
for
I
any
still don't
kind of
understand
closure
your
that the
questions.
borough wants to entertain for Gay Street?
No, not for Gay Street, no.
So there's no,
These conditions apply to any changes to traffic flow design on Matlack and Chestnut.
so the borough would then have the right to close the street whenever it felt, except for the permanently closing it. So if for the
Correct.
open air market,
That's-
it'd simply be a borough council decision?
This won't affect the closure of Gay Street. Have to get PennDOT approval on the detour route around Gay Street, which is totally different. What he's talking about was that we had to get the federal approval and PennDOT approval to actually close Gay Street. Won't have to get that any longer, but we will still have to get approval for the rerouting, just the detour, essentially.
One more question, because one of the biggest complaints we've had with the open air market, I'm sure council's seen this, everybody in this room has seen this, has been the aesthetics of the open air market it's looked like a construction zone. I think Councilman Flynn just mentioned that. So when we talk about the detour, does that also mean that like for the physical street, they would get like the approvals on like road closed signs and that kind of stuff? Or is it just signage coming into the town and around where we're going?
Tour signage, no matter what road it is, has to meet PennDOT specifications. So there'll have to be PennDOT signs that go out there, PennDOT approved signage.
To help clarify that, all those signages will be prior to Matlack and Gay Street for the detours. And you're calling it PA Route 3, which is also State Road 3. So Mr. Metrick's going to find out the clarifications on that. So if they put the detour signs up in front of Chestnut Square, as we did before, it keeps the flow contiguous going through the borough. And hopefully, that would be a good question to ask. And Mr. O'Brien had a good question. It took almost 6 months to get approval from PennDOT and the Federal Highway Administration. And, whether every year we have to go to them and ask for a detour, how long it would take.
Question. Dale McClure, Ward 7. Regarding the detour, what does this do for High and Gay Street? High Street is PA 100, isn't it? Do you have to observe the detour signs that's going to be required by PennDOT? And the next thing you know, we have these construction, road closed signs at High and Gay, which is what we're trying to avoid. I think that's something you should ask at that intersection. Because High Street's going to be still a through street. Unless you have something like, if Park and Recs wants to try to reinstitute the road. If we're just going to close it like an open air market and leave that intersection open, you've got a state highway going right through it. Say, ask them about that.
Thank you. Any additional questions or comments? Thank you. On to item 7, approve the sale of a 2014 police Ford Explorer Interceptor SUV on Municibid, bad transmission.
This vehicle was listed as one of the vehicles that's being turned in this year as part of the enterprise purchase of new vehicles. And so this one actually, the transmission went on it, so we want to put it up in advance on PennBid, or Municibid, I apologize, on Municibid for sale. Sell it, and you have actually gotten a replacement vehicle already, so.
Thank you. Any questions?
No, consent.
Consent, thank you. Item 8, accept a $1,000 donation from Matthew Adams for a fallen oak tree.
Last fall, we had a tree that needed to be taken down in one of the parks. The tree was taken down, but the logs remained on site and have not been removed yet. So Matt Adams came to us and asked if he could, in exchange for a donation, $1,000, if he could take the logs and use it for building of furniture. So we're recommending to accept that $1,000 donation. Removal from the park of the logs is going to be under his own expense. The borough will not have to pay for that. We did pay for the taking down the tree, but we're going to recover the $1,000 this way.
Thank you. Any questions?
No, consent.
Consent, thank you. Already reviewed item 9. Item 10, approve December 2021 meeting minutes. Tony, I guess it's up to you.
As the only one standing, the meeting minutes were approved.
Thank you. There are no additional comments or questions. Meeting is adjourned at 6:29.